Now we're dealing with second derivatives, but of implicit equations. Really similar to things we've done. There's just one little substitution step in the middle that makes it maybe a little bit different than normal. So to start this problem, what I see right now is I see a quotient rule going on. So this is already the first derivative. We need to find the second derivative. So we're going to derive this. And it's going to require the quotient rule. So remember, that's f prime times g minus f times g prime over g squared. So f would be the top function, which is sine of y. And remember, this is implicit. So when we take the derivative in respect to x, we have to do the chain rule. So derivative of sine is cosine. And we multiply it by dy dx, because that's the derivative of the inside, the derivative of y. And then for g is x, so g prime is 1. So now let's put it together, put it in the quotient rule. So we're going to have f prime, which is cosine of y times dy dx, times g, which is x, minus f is sine of y, times g prime, which is 1. All over g squared, which would be x squared. So this is where things get a little bit different. Dy dx is in the middle of our answer here. Well, you can't enter that. So what we're going to do is dy dx, well, dy dx is sine of y over x, right? So I'm going to go ahead and substitute that in for dy dx. Oops. Just so we can see what happened there. I took this right here and I substituted in what dx was in the beginning, sine of y over x. And I'm missing a little bit of notation here, so let me just clean this up a bit. So we're finding right now the second derivative. So what's pretty interesting about this is the x and the x are going to cancel. You can picture this being on top. You know, this would be over 1, this would be over 1, and the x's would cancel out, leaving us with cosine of y times sine of y minus sine of y. All over, and I forgot x squared. And then sine of y in common, so we could factor that out to the front. It's not necessary in free response, but for multiple choice, this could happen. Kind of makes it look a little more simplified. And there you go, that would be the answer. So let's go ahead and go over another one. This time we're going to plug in a point. And these are a little bit easier, even though now we're not starting with the first derivative. It was kind of nice in that first example. We started with the first derivative, so we just had to take one derivative. This time we're going to have to do two derivatives. So we're starting with x squared plus y squared equals 25. So I'm going to take the derivative. The first derivative we'll do in purple, 2x plus 2y times dy dx equals, and then the derivative of the 25 would just be 0. So we're going to get dy dx by itself, so I'll subtract 2x, because remember, we're just finding the first derivative right now. And then I'll divide that 2y to the other side. And you'll get negative x over y. Remember, if you divide 2 divided by 2, just cancels out, and we have the negative. So it's just x over y. And in case you don't see that division, remember dy dx is the same thing as just y prime. Okay, that's the first derivative, but we need the second derivative. So for the second derivative, we're going to have to do a quotient rule. So let's let f, because we have f prime times g minus f times g prime over g squared. So we'll let f equal negative x. We'll let it take the negative, and f prime equals -1, g equal y. So g prime will be y prime. Or dy dx. Okay, so put this together. F prime times g will be -1 times y minus f times g prime, that's -x times dy dx. All over g squared, that would be y squared. So simplify, it's -y plus x. And then what we have though is we have this dy dx that we got to deal with. So in for that, I'm going to go ahead and put, dy dx is -x over y, right? Let me actually put that in purple. There we go. So we don't really have to simplify this because we're just going to plug in the point 4, 3. So at 4, 3 will be -3 plus 4 times -4 over 3 all over 3 squared. So it's going to be -3 minus 16 over 3 over 9. -9 over 3 minus 16 over 3 over 9. -9 minus 16 is -25 over 3 over 9, which is over 1. Flip and multiply. And it's -25 over 27. I hope I didn't make any little mistakes in there.